My dear readers, consider, if you will, the American gun control debate, a theatrical saga that oscillates between tragedy and farce. At its heart lies the Second Amendment, a sometimes useful relic interpreted with the kind of zealotry typically reserved for holy texts. This fervor, mind you, is often championed by the same individuals who, while thumping their chests in defense of constitutional sanctity, conveniently overlook its fundamental ethos. The irony is as thick as the smoke on a revolutionary battlefield. Here we are, centuries removed from the Minutemen and the Green Mountain Boys, who stood for a collective defense, now hijacked by a cabal of modern-day zealots. These self-appointed guardians of liberty, who claim lineage to those venerable revolutionaries, are more akin to actors in a macabre theatre. They advocate for unfettered access to firearms under the guise of freedom, yet their rallying cries sound alarmingly like war chants against imagined tyrannies. The undercurrent of this debate, which is seldom addressed with the honesty it demands, is the unnerving intersection of mental health and gun ownership. Here, the advocates of unbridled gun rights, often the loudest to tout the sanctity of the Second Amendment, engage in a form of cognitive dissonance so profound that it would be comical if it weren't so tragically consequential. They vehemently oppose any form of regulation that might prevent the mentally unstable from acquiring weapons, all the while fantasizing about scenarios where they, as heroic vigilantes, confront their political adversaries with lethal force. This brings us to the crux of the matter, the evolution of weaponry. While futurists and technophiles speculate about the advent of handheld energy weapons, a development that would render the current debate almost quaint, these same advocates cling to their guns as if they were talismans from a bygone era. The irony should not be lost on us that these champions of the Second Amendment are preparing for a future war with the weapons of the past. In this grand theatre of the absurd, where constitutional originalists and futuristic weapon enthusiasts collide, one can't help but wonder if the entire debate is missing the point. It's not about the sanctity of the Second Amendment or the inevitability of technological progress. It's about a nation grappling with its identity, caught between the reverence for its founding principles and the realities of a rapidly changing world. In the end, perhaps the greatest tragedy of this debate is not the constitutional gymnastics or the technological speculations, but the glaring disregard for the human cost. The blood spilled in classrooms, churches, and streets across the nation seems to be but a footnote in a debate that has lost its moral compass. Let us pause to consider the stark, unvarnished truth of our predicament. The notion of a total gun ban, while danced around in political theatrics, is not only a logistical nightmare, but also a blatant affront to the Constitution. However, it is paramount to recognize that those baying loudest against such a ban are not the noble descendants of our founding fathers, no matter how fervently they drape themselves in the flag. They are in essence more akin to howling werewolves under the moonlit sky of political turmoil, their cries not for liberty, but for an insatiable thirst for blood. Their arguments, cloaked in the garb of patriotism and constitutional rights, betray a deeper, more sinister craving, a world where the gun is the ultimate arbiter of justice, and power is measured in the caliber of a bullet. They stand not as guardians of freedom, but as zealots of an ideology that fetishizes firearms to the point of sacrilege, ignoring the rivers of blood that have flowed through the streets, schools, and homes of America. Their resistance to even the most sensible gun regulations, those aimed at keeping weapons from the hands of the mentally unstable or potential terrorists, is not a stand for liberty, but a grotesque display of a death cult masquerading as constitutional purists. In their twisted narrative, any attempt to temper this Wild West mentality is painted as a siege upon the very foundations of the Republic, rather than what it truly is, a desperate cry for a return to a semblance of sanity and safety in a nation held hostage by the barrel of a gun. And so the saga continues, with its cast of characters parading their ideologies with a fervor that would make the founding fathers either weep or writhe in their graves. In this grand drama of guns and liberties, the only certainty is the persistence of American paradoxes, as enduring as they are confounding.